Hello and welcome to Three Wise Men. This podcast is about Premier League football and is a pilot. My name is Arvind Krishnan and I will be your host for today. I am a Chelsea fan and glad to note that we currently lead the table by a hefty margin of 8 points. Today is January 22nd, 2017, and for the next hour, we will be discussing the top 6 clubs, the good, bad, and concluding with a discussion about relegation sides. So, let's get right to it. The biggest topic of this weekend is, of course, Wayne Rooney breaking the goal record of Sir Bobby Charlton. Let's the first person to get introduced here. We have Siddharth Arora, who has been a United fan for the past 12, 13 years.
2027.
27 years. Okay, he's going to turn 28 soon, and he's been a fan for 27 years. All right. So, Siddharth, what do you think of Wayne Rooney's record of 250 goals, breaking Sir Bobby Charlton's record? Right.
Oh, I think it's a one of a kind record. I mean, it's been broken after 44, 45 years. So that kind of speaks for what he's done throughout his career. The only problem I have again is that people don't value it as much as it should be valued. But yeah, great record. Top scorer for the club, top scorer for the country. Still gets all the stick, but still performs every week. So, yeah.
Let's get a second guest in, Shannon from Portland, Oregon. Shannon is also a United fan. Shannon, what do you think of this phenomenal achievement?
Oh, it's amazing. As Sid said, it's going to be one of a kind. It will take a lot of effort, a lot of time for anyone else coming in to even match up to Wayne Rooney's record. Especially considering that the amount of sacrifice he has done for the team. He's played in center midfield, left wing, right wing, to accommodate likes of Ronaldo and Tevez and Berbatov to do their thing. It's amazing. And that's it. It's one of a kind. It's going to be a long, long time till someone even comes close. So
Yeah.
it's brilliant. Again, people don't value it. They keep bringing up things like, oh, he asked for a transfer request, but I definitely feel from his point of view after like so many years, if you sell people like Ronaldo and let Tevez go and replace them with an aging Michael Owen and Gabriel Overton, I would have probably done the same, right? So he's a legend of a club. There's no two ways about it. In 10, 15 years' time, we look back and, then realize how great Wayne Rooney actually was.
And Shannon and I have been lucky enough to meet him.
Oh, yeah.
And he signed my shirt. So, yeah.
Take us back to 2004, 2003, 2004 when he scored that wonder goal against Arsenal for Everton. And how did that go about the first time you all saw him and the year that Sir Alex signed him up? Talk us through how that went through. Siddharth?
Oh, I think when he started, it was just to compare it to today's world. It was kind of very similar to how Rashford started, but he had this animal instinct about him. Like even like the way he approached the game, the way he played, how aggressive he was. He was kind of a Roy Keane and Rashford mix, and you knew that he's someone special when he had his first game, his first goal. Didn't fear the big stage. He was going in for the tackles, going in for going into the box. Not overwhelmed by who he was playing with, and he was playing with the likes of Scholes, Giggs, Keane, Beckham, and Van Nistelrooy, I guess. So not overwhelmed by the stage at all, and yeah, I mean think it'll take something special. I see Rashford doing it, but I think it'll take something special for someone to even come remotely close to what he's done.
So on the topic of Manchester United, let's talk about this season. How would Shannon? How would you rate the four signings that has happened? And actually, let's call it five signings with Mourinho joining the club as well. What do you think has been the impact of these five players? Eric Bailly, Paul Pogba, Zlatan, and Henrik Mkhitaryan joining in. What has been the impact of this season?
You know what, Arvind? I am so glad you called Mourinho a signing because that's what I considered him from the beginning. You
That's
know?
a great point, actually. It was very well
It-
said. Yeah.
Yeah, because um, you don't forget that. Just imagine if Ed Woodward hadn't taken a chance and signed Mourinho, um, we'd be in the same boat that we were like 2-3 years ago. Since the last 2-3 years, to be honest. So I would say signing Mourinho was probably the smartest thing Ed Woodward has done in his life. There's no two ways about it. It's just the charisma, um, the attraction of playing for Mourinho. That's gonna bring players. United, of course, people want to play for a club like United, but having Mourinho gives that extra oomph factor. But then it was impressive, really impressive the way he got, to his business. He knew what he wanted, and he got exactly what he wanted. He knew the center of defense needed strengthening. To be 100% honest, I had no idea who Eric Bailly was.
Similar to now we have rumors about Lindelof or the other players.
Yeah.
Bailly was an unknown.
Exactly. Yeah, Bailly was an unknown, but I believe people who followed Spanish football really closely knew how he played and watched his game. And from day one, I mean, I think he had one game where he was a little off, but other than that, he's been a monster. He's just been this, energetic dog who wants to win every header. And it's been brilliant to watch ever since Vidic left. We haven't had that sort of a presence in the back.
Yeah, I mean, to add to what Shannon said, I'd only say that Mourinho's Chelsea's loss was kind of our gain. It was like a match. It seems like the perfect match, but I think we're lucky with the timing of his sacking. He got sacked by Chelsea. He's been to every other country. The only thing he's left for him to do is prove Chelsea wrong now that they were wrong in sacking him. The only thing has he won a Champions League with
Chelsea? No.
Chelsea? No.
Only
I think
Inter
the
Milan
only
and
thing left
Porto.
for him to do in his career, which has been great, is to win the Champions League with an English club. And I don't see him doing that with any other club in England. So it was a match. I think it was a perfect match. We needed him. He needed a big club. And I think it's worked out brilliantly. I think he'll do great. And I honestly think he won't leave in 3 years for another club.
So you bring up a couple of very interesting points, and being a Chelsea fan myself, I think last season December, so many things were out of hand that and being down at 16th, it was a very justifiable move for the club to sack Mourinho. Now you ask any Chelsea fan, and they would not speak too many bad things about Mourinho. He's part of the history of the club, and I truly hope that he does succeed at United. Even though hopefully they have only 1 point less than Chelsea in all the leagues. But that kind of segues into the next question, which is, there's been so much right about United this season, and yet they're down at 6th. What is the reason for that, and what can improve going forward for that to go ahead? Siddharth?
Yeah, I think I'll talk about that first. I think we've had a great start. By great, I mean we're not first. We're not in the top 4. why I say we've had a great start is that we had a horrible 3 seasons. 3 seasons or 4 after
Three.
Sir Alex left. And why I call it great is because I've personally been to Old Trafford, seen Van Hal's team play, and I wanted to cry. It was pathetic. It was a very negative build up that 70 odd thousand people could see. Um, with Mourinho's team,
You were at the Leicester game, right?
no,
When
that
United were
was
playing them.
so that
This
was
season?
this year.
Yeah.
When we won 4-1. That was Mourinho's team.
Yeah.
My first game at Old Trafford was with Norwich when we lost 2-1. That was Van Hal's team. Coming back to what I was saying, his approach, at least, even though we're not at the top of the table, even though we're not in the top 4, I think the approach, the core of the team, it seems very positive. The build-up's positive. The passing intent is good. He's kind of fixed the core flaws we had in the 3-4. I'm not saying we're perfect. He's kind of started to fix them. So I see good progress, and that's why I think even though we're not winning every game, you see 70 or 1,000 people walking away from Old Trafford smiling. As Shannon said, I mean, Bai's kind of, it feels like, he's the solution for the central defensive problem that we've had after Ferdinand and Vidic. Ibrahimovic is a short-term fix, but at least he brings that, that Cantona, Roy Keane type personality that we were lacking. Even if it is short-term, I think he'll be a great mentor to everyone. Mkhitaryan, everyone's starting to see what he's capable of. And who's the fourth one?
Paul Pogba.
Oh, I don't need to talk about him. So,
Pogba. How could you forget Pogba?
I'm not going to talk about Pogba. It all seems very positive, at least for me being a United fan.
So, Shannon, before you chime in, one of Siddharth's questions was, what is the reason for United's finishing woes? And how do you chime that in with, you have Zlatan, there is Rashford in the team, Henrik Mkhitaryan brings a different dimension. There are so many goal scorers in midfield. What do you think is the reason for the lack of goals this season from United?
Well, to be honest, as Sid said, Mourinho has improved the way we've been playing exponentially, right? Like, there is purpose, there's intent, there's intensity in the play. But what we're still missing, to be honest, is a little bit of that speed in the final third. We are still recovering from the Van Gaal effect of, slow down, play a little bit, and to be honest, we haven't really come out of that yet. Like, you see a lot of teams, right? Like, it's very difficult for you to score a goal if the opposite team has 8 bodies in the penalty box, right?
But that's a problem that everyone in the top 6 is going to be facing, right?
No, that's what I'm saying. Everyone in the top 6 faces, but when you watch the goals that are scored, we tend to slow down things a little more than the other teams in the top 6. Right? Even though we counter to the edge of the box, and then we ponder a little bit, and that's the main issue. You have to get the ball through these bodies.
Yeah.
And if you have 8 bodies plus 6 of your own team in there, there's no way you can get the ball through. So that's a little bit missing for me right now. Like, get the ball to the box and get it fast. Like, do not allow the team to drop back and, pack the box, so to say. So I think personally, I feel, if you speed up play a little bit, but again, the issue there is the players that we have, like our main strikers, right? We have Zlatan, and then we have Rooney, and none of them are Usain Bolt, right? So
True.
to make sure that their qualities show up in the box, you have to slow down the play a little bit.
Yeah.
So that's where I feel we are lacking at the moment. You can take shots from the edge of the box all day long. Like, I saw a stat that the 4 games against 2 against Stoke, Watford, West Ham, Burnley, the 5 games we have taken like 130 odd shots and scored like 4 goals. Like, yeah, it's all domination, but it doesn't count if you're taking shots and you have to get the ball through 15
Correct.
people to put it in the back of the net.
So,
So,
Sid,
that-
anything?
That's the vacuum thing. The speed of getting the ball in the box and then trying to finish there.
Yes.
Good point. Yeah, Sid, anything to add?
Let me just finish up on what Shannon's been talking about. I think the reason we've not had so many points so far is we're kind of forgetting that we almost have a new front 4 or 5 compared to last season. There's Zlatan coming in from France. There's Martial, who's relatively new. There's Mkhitaryan coming in from Germany. There's Pogba coming in from Italy. So it's kind of a new front 4, and we're being very unfair to them if we expect, even though they cost above 100, 150 million combined, or maybe more. I think they need at least a season to start gelling together before you see them convert 1 out of every 2 shots. So I think if we give them time, they will come good. And I think you as a Chelsea fan, as a non-Man United person, would agree that there's progress.
True. From my point of view, yeah, it does seem like United are playing better, and it seems like this team will be great the next year. United Mourinho is known for his second year. He's won a title. He's won the league everywhere he's gone the second year. Whether it was Chelsea, Inter Milan, Real Madrid, back at Chelsea,
That's interesting.
Porto as well. He's always won the second year.
Okay, so I'm going to place all my bets for next year.
But the last question I wanted to pose to you guys about United is, what do you think of Rashford's progress this year? Especially given the fact that he's learning from the very best. He's learning from Zlatan. He comes on in the games, maybe late end, but he's playing in the wings, so he's attacking from the wings as well, while he's learning how to develop his play in the box. Shannon, any thoughts?
I'm going to use a quote from a old man called Louis Van Gaal. He kept referring to these, young players saying they are inconsistent. You can't expect them to be playing at 9 out of 10 level week in, week out. And I absolutely agree with that. The thing with Rashford is, like, he burst onto the scene, right? Like those 2 goals against Midtjylland, those 2 goals against Arsenal, the goal against City. So he's shown what he's capable of. But you gotta remember, he's a 19-year-old kid. It's the hardest league, the most physical league in the world, and this kid at 19 was, ripping up trees in the first couple of months. But I wish he would have been managed a little better, but I see what happened at the beginning of the season where Mourinho was kicking him out on left wing. But at that point of time, we didn't really have a player who was doing anything on the left wing. Martial was, I think, out injured and he was out of sorts and he had his personal issues. Rashford was the one that
You had Ashley Young.
Some sort of pace on the left wing. So I mean, if you go back and see, maybe he was a little dull a couple of months. He wasn't, as good as like the end of last season. But now that he's being rested, he's been rotated in and out of the team. You could have probably seen his impact. The past game where he came in, he got the ball in the center areas, ran at the defense, created all sorts of chaos. And to be honest, he probably should have got a free kick at the edge of the box when Dan Shawcross tried to rugby tackle him.
So
I'm really glad how he's progressing. And I mean, again, you got to remember he's just 19. He's just going to get better the next year and the season after.
Hey, so Siddharth, to wrap up, any final thoughts on Rashford at United? 30 seconds.
30 seconds. I'll take a minute. I have 2 points to add. I think we forget that it's the last 2 3 years haven't been the best environment at United for young players to grow. Um, we've kind of we're kind of starting to rise from the ashes almost after the post Ferguson era. So to just hand it over to a 19-year-old and say take us back to the top of the league and win us titles is kind of unfair. So I think he'll slowly come back into the first 11. And if you watched one of his very recent interviews, I think it was the MUTV interview where they asked him, what role does Zlatan play in the dressing room? What role does Rooney play in the dressing room, even though he's not starting? And what he had to say was, I don't care if I start or not. What I'm learning from the likes of Zlatan and Rooney is invaluable. He won't learn that anywhere else. So I think even if he's a part-time kind of a player for the next season or so, what he's going to learn the next season is going to be useful for the next 20 years. So I think he'll come good.
So definitely a very, very promising youngster. Again, the whole of football is looking forward to him producing a lot more. Moving on, we're going to talk next about Liverpool. Liverpool were languishing down at 9th last season, and Klopp has got some time to implement his ideas with the entire team. They've been doing so much better. They're exciting to watch. They are currently, I believe, 4th in the table. This weekend they lost 3-2 with Swansea City. So first question is, Siddharth, what do you think has been the biggest reason for their resurgence this year? What has changed?
Firstly, I'm just glad that we started from talking about United and now we're moving on to Liverpool. It's like the perfect podcast for me. So Liverpool being good this year, I think we've had a fair share of discussions, and I've always said, out of the newcomers that we have as far as coaches are concerned, I think Conte and Klopp are at another level. They're another level of genius, because what they've done with the players they have is amazing. What Klopp has done differently is he's kind of gotten rid of the bad eggs. Firstly, Alberto Moreno is not a Premier League player. He's put in James Milner in there, and I think he's the most underrated player in the world. Forget the Premier League. I think he's done a phenomenal job. Moreno was a disaster at left back, with his hairstyle and his football. So Alberto Moreno was the first bad egg. I think
Benteke has left as well.
Benteke has left. I think, just talking about defense first, I think Mohamed Sako was, I think, another
Skirtle as well, right?
failure of a signing. They're still not sure with their goalkeeping situation, with Karius and Mignolet. He's gotten in not great players, but decent players who do the job, hard-working, decent players who give it their 110%, which is what Klopp is, which is what Klopp likes. This is the kind of squad he had at Dortmund. He's got in Wijnaldum, he's got in Emre Can, Henderson in his midfield, and Firmino, Coutinho. He's got in Mane, who gives it his all. So I think he's got a very hard-working team. I'm sure Shannon's going to talk about the flaws in their pressing system, but I think that's kind of the reason they've done well so far. He's gotten rid of the bad players, and the others are gelling together very well.
Yeah, I think Wijnaldum and and Mane have been amazing signings, and it really works with their high pressing philosophy, the way Mane plays. But I think the other thing that he's done really well is he's gotten Lallana looks like a completely different player.
I completely forgot about him.
He stepped up big time. Henderson was good, but he's kind of growing more into his role. It's interesting to note that I believe in January Liverpool have won one EFL Cup game, and that's a very good point to keep in mind because Coutinho was injured the beginning of January when they drew with Sunderland, and Mane left for the African Cup of Nations. So, Shannon, here's a question for you. What do you think what do you think makes Liverpool click? And is Mane really more? Do you think Mane is more crucial than Coutinho? And both of them have been just amazing this year.
Yeah, but doesn't it seem so now with Mane out and Liverpool struggling to win games? Uh, I believe Coutinho was injured at the end of November, and from then up till Mane went out, they were doing pretty all right. They were, picking up scrappy wins over Everton and whatnot, getting some last minute goals. Uh, but now since Mane has been out for the last couple of weeks, they have been struggling to win. I mean, they didn't do anything special against United at Old Trafford. They lost against bottom basement dwellers Swansea. They lost against their mother team Southampton in the EFL Cup. So
they drew against Southampton, but I see your point.
No, they lost 1-0, right?
No. They drew 2-2 against Southampton earlier this month.
Okay, yeah, but you see my point, right?
Yeah.
So, as soon as Mane left, the wins have dried up. But, so that's why it struck me that is Mane more important than Coutinho. And also, if you notice that there was a drop in Firmino's form while Coutinho was out, it's like he missed him on the pitch or something.
Yeah.
So now that Coutinho came back in, he scored 2 against Swansea, but luckily they lost again.
I think their first team right now is a very good, if they have Mane and Coutinho available, is a puzzle where all the pieces fit in together perfectly. I think it's unfair to compare Mane and Coutinho. They're different players. Mane is good on the wings. Coutinho is obviously, more down the middle with his shots. So it's unfair to compare them. And I think they kind of work for each other, work with each other. So it's unfair to compare them. But obviously they do miss Mane and Coutinho very much. And it just shows the lack of depth in their squad when both of them are missing. We see how they've performed in 2017 so far, with Coutinho being on the bench so far and Mane out.
Which brings me to the next question, which is what does Liverpool need in the summer of 2017 to take them to the next level, to make them genuine title contenders? Now, I'd like to preface that with, once Karius got into the team and played goalkeeper, and Mignolet got back in the last 5 or 6 games, Mignolet has been really good. I thought he was great against United, some big saves. But yeah, what do you guys think would be Liverpool's? What is the 1 or 2 big additions that are going to make them, take them to the next level, make them genuine title contenders? Siddharth?
I think
they could go to France and play PSG every week. I guess they could win the league in France then.
Wait, say that again. I didn't hear you.
They could just move to France. They'll have a better shot of winning the league there.
I think they need 2 major fixes to their team. They need a good. I don't know if they need one. I think they probably need a new back 4. But I think they need at least a couple of good centre backs. I don't think Matip and Lovren are for title-winning centre backs. So that's one piece that they need. I think if they get someone like a Rashford, someone who finishes, someone who runs as much as Mane and Coutinho and Lallana, but finishes. I don't know who that is, but if they get that kind of a striker, not a centre forward.
You think? I know how much you like Griezmann, but do you think someone like a Griezmann or a Royce would fit in well with this Liverpool team?
I think Royce would fit in very well. I think he's a Klopp-like player. I don't think he's one for a Madrid or a United. He'd fit very well. I don't think he'd be a player who would fit at United or Madrid for like 10 seasons. I honestly see Griezmann moving to United. That is a discussion for later. But I think you bring up Royce. I think he'll be a very good fit.
Excellent. So moving on to the next team, let's talk about Chelsea next. We have a question from Siddharth, which is Conte has been amazing this year, and yeah, what do you know? What is so good about Conte that makes ordinary players look great?
I think Arvind I'll actually ask these questions to you. You being
Yeah,
a
makes
Chelsea
sense.
fan, we'll get a better opinion
And
from you.
so there's a couple of things which I believe Conte has done really well. If you look at the system right now that we're playing with the 3-4-3 system, the players actually are very similar to what Mourinho had in the second half of the title winning round last year, where you had your back four, and if you take Moses and put him up in the 4-2-3-1, then it's a very similar team with two defensive midfielders and three attacking midfielders and the one striker. So what Conte has done is, the first thing is, he knows the system really well. He knows, if I know my facts correctly, he's done a thesis in the 3-4-3 system, which from a positional standpoint, from a tactical standpoint, uh, he can make slight adjustments to the system such that based on the team that he's playing, and that's huge when you're playing a Manchester City or a Manchester United, when you have quality players on the other side as well. The second thing he's done, which was a big flaw last year, was he's tightened up the defense. Once again, the formation is big here, but it's when we play someone like a Hull like we did today, where Hull pressured Chelsea in the second half for the first about 15-20 minutes, but they didn't really have a shot on target that was dangerous. They had a few shots from about 30 yards out. When we were leading 2-0 up, there was another shot on target. But the key is the defense is now really tight. And again, very similar to the 2015 levels. Third thing I'd add is, we keep talking about Chelsea's 3-4-3 system, but the other point to note is how tactically flexible Conte is. A couple of games to talk about is the very first game of the system when we went to West Ham, when West Ham had come to Stamford Bridge. We switched to a 4-2-4 of sorts, with Pedro and Moses on the wings, and Batshuayi and Costa linking up for the second goal. Similarly, against West Brom, we switched from a 3-4-3 to a 4-2-4 of sorts, and then Moses got switched out for Fabregas, and then when we scored the goal, Ivanovic came in. It was such a flexible system. It was almost Mourinho like in the way Conte is flexible. And lastly, I think Conte has kept a lot of what Mourinho did and continued that. When we go to away games and we are a goal up, we go ahead and shut up stop. It's only at places like home uh, when we saw games against Everton and United, when we keep attacking after even going a couple of goals up. But there are many of these subtle things. The atmosphere is better. The relationship with the media is better, and Conte has just been beautiful in all this. What do you think, Shannon? Any thoughts from you?
I wanted to add a couple of things to what you said. Like, I mean, you have to give it to Conte, right? To be honest, I thought he might be the one who would struggle the most because among all the super managers in the Premier League right now, he was the only one without any experience with, managing teams in England, right? But, I'll admit it, he proved me wrong. And I think there are a couple of reasons for that. One thing, he went back to the system that he knows works best for him, right? He was the 4-3-4 or 3-4-3 rather. And I think what helped him out is he had the players at his disposal who would fit in his system, right? I think he went out and bought Alonso almost at the end of the transfer window, and Alonso fit straight in on the left wing back position, and then he had the rest of the players already in the squad.
True.
He needed a ball playing centre back, and he went and got David Luiz because who else? I mean, even though he's a terrible defender 1-on-1, he's a very good passer from the back, right?
Yeah, I think you
He,
bring
he
up a
can,
good point. Chelsea have made some good signings, and Luis has been great with the head, and he's been great at the center of the three-man midfield. In fact, yeah, go ahead.
and Arvind, I think you and I spoke about this. I think Conte is brilliant at not overly exposing a player's weaknesses. I think he's done brilliantly by playing Luis kind of in the middle or in front of, is it Aspilicueta and Cahill?
In between
Right,
Aspilicueta
in
and Kane,
between.
yes.
I don't think he's had to run a lot. I don't think he's been exposed a lot. He's a great passer, which we all know. Again, Alonso on the left is not a great um, runner, but he's not too exposed because he has Hazard in front of him, and he has Aspilicueta behind and next to him. So he's done brilliantly at getting all these players together.
Yeah, it's actually Cahill behind him. But yeah, you make a good point in the system helps the players get the best out of them.
Right.
So,
yeah, exactly.
so do you think
Yeah.
it's Chelsea's title to lose now? So yeah, Chelsea are 8 points ahead right now in the league, and the best thing that's helping Chelsea out is the other five top contenders are kind of cancelling each other out in some ways. I think the best thing that Chelsea are doing is they're knocking off points from the lower teams, which is in a very consistent manner. But I'd like to preface this with we still need to visit four of the top six,
Yep.
and we still have tough away games at Everton, West Ham, Burnley, which are very common for knocking points off the leaders of the top six. I think this title race is far from over. Chelsea do have a big advantage. 8 points in this league
Yep.
with so many top teams is tough, but I'll take the conservative approach and say we are favorites, but there's a long way to go.
Yeah, I don't think
Siddharth?
you have great fixtures, but I don't see. The only way I see Chelsea losing the title is if Costa or Hazard or Kante, one of the three, goes out for the season. If they don't have any injuries, I don't see them losing it now. I think they're doing too well to lose it now.
Yeah, I believe Chelsea have about 14, 15 good players, and it helps that we only have to play one game every week. Moving on, last question about Chelsea is the signings. So,
Yeah, two more. I'm not gonna forget Batshuayi, so two more.
so let's talk about. I want to know you guys' thoughts about Chelsea's youth and loan system. So, we've made some money out of it. Few players have come over. What do you all think about it? What do you think, Shannon?
Well, to be honest, I think Chelsea openly accepts that their loan system is a way. It's a source of income for them. There's no two ways about it, right? They try to get in talented players, but the aim of getting the players in is not setting them up for the first game. Hopefully they get better. Either send them on loan to Chelsea too, aka Vitas Harlem in Netherlands, or if they get better, then sell them.
Absolutely. I think the way they structured, the way they hire, their coaches, they kind of have a separate department for a bunch of loan players who just bought for the purpose of development and a good fee when they sell them.
True. Now let me talk about a couple of exceptions. Now, so I'd be the first one to say that yes, Chelsea have made a lot of money in this system, but I still maybe I'm a little naive about this, but I still feel that the subconscious idea is to one day get these players up to speed and come into the team. Now we have 35, 36 players out on loan right now, and there's no way we're going to get all of them in. Okay, but the key is hopefully we'll get some in. For example, Victor Moses has come in this year. Chalobah has come in this year. uh, Thibaut Courtois is one of the best examples where if we would have had to go out and purchase him, we would have spent 30-40 million easily. So it just, I think the main problem on why so few have come over is because of the fact that we keep changing managers so often. And I think that's the root cause of the problem. When Ancelotti was there, he gave McCacken a chance, he gave Gail Kakuta a chance. But when there's no continuity, every manager has a different philosophy. Moses is another perfect example. Mourinho's 3 years, he was out on loan, Liverpool, West Ham, Stoke. But now with Conte, he's come back and he's a starter. I don't think we'd be as defensively or even offensively good without him.
But I would like to interject you there
Yeah, go ahead.
for a second. Uh, so there's a difference, right? Like there is a difference between young professional players and youth players. Like what you're talking about, Courtois, you're talking about Moses. They were all signed when they were 2021. Usually by then, players are in a first team, either in a lower league or they're trying to make their way. So I think those examples I think should not be considered. If you're talking about the academy and the youth, then they're not part of the academy, right?
I was going to say the same thing. I think what you're saying is absolutely right. There's a lot of hope with the players you have, Moses and Courtois, and now you have Ruben Loftus-Cheek and Tammy Abraham, and who's the defender guy?
Andreas Christensen.
Right. So that's good, but I think the argument here is that you don't have a 7-year-old who joined Chelsea, and you don't have a Gary Neville or a Scholes or a Giggs who's come through the ranks, or a Lingard for that matter, who's come through the ranks since he was like 5 or 6 and is now a regular first teamer. Chelsea kind of functions in a way to just get short-term success.
Makes sense. And now there's no way to sugarcoat it. It is something that Chelsea need to work on. And with Conte being so good, the naive long-term hope is that he stays for a while, and in that process he helps integrate some of the amazing youth players like Lewis Baker or Tammy Abraham. Anyways, moving on.
Last topic, Batshuayi for Chelsea.
Oh yeah, so one more topic is of course Michy Batshuayi. Of course, we three have argued a lot about this, but
it's my favorite topic.
What do you Sid? So since you're so passionate about him and you love him so much,
I think Arvind, I'll let you talk about why you think he deserves to be at Chelsea or deserves to be in the Premier League, or why do you think he's a 30 million player? And then I'll have my side.
Yeah. So we'll try to keep this brief, but my reason for, so there is the valuation and then there is how good he is right now. So let's divide that. The valuation first. And we spoke about 3 players. One is Eric Bailly, was about 21, cost about 30 million this year. We have Hazard, who came to Chelsea about 3 years back from the French league, who cost about 32 million. And finally, the third point that I wanted to make is Crystal Palace actually had a bid for Batshuayi at 32 million that was accepted. And Chelsea, being short of a striker, caught on to that and they bid for him. So keeping that in mind, I don't think spending 33 million on him was too much money. But I'd be the first one to say that he hasn't lived up to that price tag. Yep. One of the main reasons why is we have a certain unknown player called Diego Costa who has been scoring goals in his dreams. He's been absolutely amazing. The second more important reason is we've been ahead in most games, and it's very hard to bring in a second striker when if we'd rather shut up stop or give the likes of a Pedro or a Hazard some rest by bringing on Willian, who is a more accomplished first team starter.
Absolutely.
So he's got his chances in the FA Cup and the EFL Cup. And honestly, he hasn't done that well. I think the Leicester game where we won 4-2 in extra time stands out and even the recent game against Petersburg, I believe, he wasn't that good. And this might be lack of game time. He needs time to adjust to a new league. but there is a very good likelihood that I think next year he'll be a lot better, or given Chelsea's history, we might loan him out as well. Siddharth, your thoughts?
I'm going to pick up on all the points that you mentioned. I don't think he's going to come good. I think even if Chelsea give him, 4 or 5 years, I don't think he's even a 10-goal a season player, honestly. You mentioned that, it's hard being second, Diego Costa, which is a very fair point. Why would you bring anyone on when Costa has been in the form of his life, even though he wants to move to China for money, but that's another discussion. I mean, if you have Costa, why would you not have a youth? You have 35 players. Is there not a half decent striker who you could get for free rather than spending 33 million on a nobody who is not good at all? You mentioned Crystal Palace had a bid for him. I have the same argument with Crystal Palace. They would have had a horrible signing for 30 million as well. He's not a good player. Why I say that is, I think your comparisons were very unfair. Buy is, it's in today's market, which is very inflated. Let's agree to that. Buy is, from what we've seen so far, is a Vidic-like defender.
Amazing.
He's
defender,
a Vidic-like defender. I think 30 million for him is justified, and we never know how the player is going to turn out until he plays. Bai's been great. Hazard took his time, but if he's worth 60, 70 million, whatever. I think 30 million was over the top for him because let's do a fair comparison here. Benteke, Lukaku, and Divock Origi, all compatriots, all play with him for Belgium. Benteke is 30 million. Lukaku is 40, 50 million. Divock Origi, who's been amazing for 10 million. I don't think he's done 10% of what they've done, which is why I say 30 million for him is just is stupid money. I think it was a horrible signing. I think Chelsea will loan him out and eventually sell him for less than half the money that they spent on him.
Makes sense. We'll speculate about what happens, but yeah, I do hope he does come good. Next up, let's talk about Arsenal. This was until the very last minute, all of us thought we'd be talking about another draw that Arsenal would have had for a game they should have won. But is this Shannon? Is this another typical Arsenal year where they are good but not good enough?
Absolutely. This is another Arsenal being Arsenal season.
I think it's another Wenger being Wenger.
Yeah. There's you can't really put one particular finger on it, right? Like there are so many small things that happen to Arsenal that always seem to happen to Arsenal. Today was, they happened to get a win. Good for them. But, it could have seriously gone so bad. It just, Sid will tell you, we've been having this discussion on another WhatsApp group where I read a tweet and it said, Arsene Wenger is so successful that he's brainwashed an entire fan base to believe that fourth place is good. Like, fourth is an achievement. Which, when I read it, I was like, wow, this was like epiphany to me. And, when you think about it, between 97 and when was the last time they won the league, 2004, they won 3 leagues in 7 years. They won a couple of cups. They won, I think, a double as well. And their fans will always give an excuse. Oh, we built a stadium.
Yeah.
Fine. They say we weren't spending money. Like, okay, Leicester did not spend money. They were like, okay, one off. But, when you had the best chance to win the league, you screwed up. That is Arsenal for you. That is Arsenal in a nutshell. And I think this season is going to be the same. I think at the end of the season, Alexis Sanchez is going to move. I think he's had enough. They are not going to win the league, and he's not going to spend the prime of his career for such a fantastic footballer to be winning FA. And it's just going to be there unless the change in mentality, there's a change in management.
True.
As long as Arsene Wenger is there, they really won't have the ambition.
Now I'm a big fan of Arsene Wenger. I think he's done amazing. The one thing that I don't understand, they just seem to lack leaders. Sanchez is good, but he just feels like when there's a crisis, he wants to do everything. My question to Siddharth is, when Wenger has built a team with the likes of Vieira and Sol Campbell and Seaman and all that, why, Bergkamp, Thierry Henry, they're amazing players. Why is this Arsenal team show so much lack of character when it comes to crunch games?
I think you bring up an absolutely good point. And the reason I started the conversation by saying Wenger being Wenger, I think after the Invincibles, I don't think he's made great signings. And in today's world, you need to spend money to get those great players. What I say is absolutely justified, because I think both of you would agree with me that if they had a Vieira, if they had a Sol Campbell, if they had a Bergkamp, if they had a David Seaman, they would have probably gotten a title or two in the past, 10, 15 years. I think they need that crunch. They need a Roy Keane. They need a Zlatan to take them over the line towards the end of the season. Like we see this year, they're kind of going down again. So,
well, they are on second, and I think like a typical year, they'll qualify for Champions League, but they'll again fail on all fronts.
yeah.
Anyways, moving on, we have Tottenham Hotspurs with Pochettino at the helm. He has been absolutely amazing. I think I witnessed the 2-2 draw with City, and to be honest, Spurs were outplayed, but at the same time, they did not lose. And that brings out very good character. So, Siddharth, what do you think of Pochettino as a manager? He's absolutely lit the Premier League up the last 4 years.
I think he's been the best manager in the last 4 or 5 years. You see the job he did at Southampton. You see the job he's doing at Spurs. It seems even more great when you look at the players he had. He didn't have the Sanchez, the Costas.
He didn't have 200 million to spend.
He didn't have Zlatans. He's doing this with Dele Alli and Harry Kane, and he did that with the Liverpool second team earlier. I think you need that.
So that brings up a great point, because my next question to you, Shannon, is with a spine of players like Dele Alli and Kane, Harry Kane, Eric Dyer, Wanyama, Lloris, the wing backs have been amazing. Do you think 1 or 2 additions maybe, and this is a title-winning squad in the next 2 years or something?
Let's not forget that Alderweireld and Vertonghen have been the
amazing.
Best. They seem like the best centre-back partnership after Ferdinand and Vidic.
Correct.
So let's not forget them as well.
Shannon, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, after Ferdinand and Vidic, it's a little long shot, but I see your point. I think what really helped Pochettino was, he had the players again, who have been performing in the Premier League. So they had Kyle Walker, Danny Rose. The only player he brought in was Alderweireld and maybe Dele Alli, right?
Yeah.
Everyone else was already in the team, already in the squad. Credit to him for promoting Harry Kane from the youth team. But again, he's a manager who knows how to get best out of his players, and in his case, he already had the players performing at a good level. He improved their work ethic. I've read reports about how he's like a workaholic, and he's instilled that in his team, the way they press, the way they defend, and their football is absolutely beautiful as well. So yeah, definitely they'll have 1 or 2 good signings hopefully, and they'll definitely win the league in the next 5 years if they keep hold of Pochettino.
And
The only drawback I would say is he doesn't have the experience. Like you saw what happened at the end of last season, right? It should come from the manager. The players are all young; they haven't won anything. But unfortunately, the manager hasn't either, and that showed at the end of last season where they lost their nerve at Chelsea and being the front runner in a two-horse race, they ended up third. So I think there's a little bit of growing up to do for the team and the manager as well. But there will be some team in the near future.
And let's not forget that all the players that we mentioned, Dele Alli, Harry Kane, we forgot about Christian Eriksen, Kyle Walker, Alderweireld. He's signed them to 5-year contracts in the past 6 months or so. So he's building a team for the future. I think all they need is another great striker, an upgrade to Son Heung-min or Vincent Janssen, and I think that's what will take them from third or second to a title-winning team.
Like all good teams, there are always vultures hanging around. Do you think Barcelona would prize Pochettino away from Spurs? Any thoughts, Siddharth?
They have to get through Levi first.
Say that again, Sharon.
They have to get through Daniel Levi first. He's like the worst football executive you can negotiate in football. So
yeah, very quickly, I don't think you can rule anything out in today's world. As we've seen, money can buy anything. But I see Pochettino winning something at Spurs, and then probably if he decides to make the move to Barcelona or Madrid, why not?
Excellent. Let's wrap it up there. And the final team in the last six, in the top six, is Manchester City.
I forgot that they existed.
They are ahead of United, but anyways, it's been a not so smooth year for Pep Guardiola, and but at the same time they've been playing some amazing football. Especially the front few. What do you think after being at places like Barcelona and Bayern Munich? What do you think has been the biggest learning points for Pep Guardiola? Siddharth?
I can talk about this for the next 30 minutes. I think he got. I think he was very lucky with the players that he got at Barcelona and Munich. He didn't have. I've said this before. He didn't have much to do. I'm not saying he's not a great manager. He's a great manager, and I hope he does well. Not for City though. He had the likes of Ribery and Robin, and at Barca he had the Xavis, the Iniestas, the Samuel Eto'o, Henry. With those kind of players around, you can raise a Messi. You can raise the players that you have. At City, he's trying to bring in. I'm not saying that Jesus or Sané or Sterling they're bad players. I think he's trying to bring in 11 new players, completely unknowns, very young, and it'll take time for him to figure things out. He was very overconfident. So was the world about him. I wasn't. I knew that not do well, and it's completely showing that his life is not going to be easy for him.
So, a couple of things. One is he sold Eto'o after 1 year. He wanted to sell him in the very first year he joined, but there's a few things that I don't agree there. When we as fans of football look at a Pep team, it is the beautiful way that they play that people admire. And yes, he's had good teams, but here's the thing, right? People at City wanted him to bring that to Manchester City. It's no secret that both Chelsea and United wanted to sign him.
Right.
And there's nothing wrong in him getting some time to figure his stuff out. Yes, he needs to figure out what players he needs to get into his defense. There is a few things there, but
I think he'll do well. I'm not saying he won't do well. He'll probably win it with City. I just think he needs a complete revamp of the back five. I think Claudio Bravo is the worst signing in the last 10 years after you move out Joe Hart. I think Kolarov is not a Premier League defender anymore. He's too old to run. I don't think Otamendi or Mangala or John Stones or Zabaleta are good enough for City. I think he needs a new back five. He has a good front five. He'll do well eventually, not this year.
And finally, Shannon, your thoughts on the two super exciting signings, Sane and Gabriel Jesus. Any thoughts on them? I think they just
Uh,
they look very promising.
no, they just want to be Martial and Rashford to me right now.
Wow.
but
Yeah, man. I totally don't feel the cockiness of being a United fan, but yeah, keep going.
no, they look like decent players. I mean, again, Sane bought for a bigger sum. Shoes, I think, played yesterday, but to be honest, they'll turn out well. But again, I don't think it's the attacking areas that City needs to to look at right now. They have amazing front four, front five players, and with time, Sane and Jesus both will light the league up. But to kick off City in general, they need some defenders. They need a goalkeeper who can actually save shots.
Cool.
So
So, finally, just wrapping up with the other teams. Really quick, Shannon, who do you think are the three teams that will get relegated and why? 2 minutes.
Oh wow. I think Swansea, I think they'll struggle. They just have Sigurdsson and no one else in the team. He like there's some crazy stat that he's probably gotten involved in like 50 or 60%, including goals and assists of their output. So you can see that why if they go down,
Okay.
there'll be yeah. I think Hull might go down. They played actually well against Chelsea
Uh-huh.
today.
Yeah.
They were lucky not to get the penalty at 1-1. I mean 1-0. They would have been a
True.
different game after that. But I think they just chop and change managers, and I don't think their players are good enough. So I think Hull will go down. And the third, would I be going overboard if I say Leicester?
Okay.
It'll be,
Bold choice.
I
it'll be
like that. I like that.
it'll be some achievement if they go down a season after winning the league. You see why it was just one off that what they did last year, because they have been playing terribly. They lost again to Southampton. Don't look like they're improving at the moment. So you never know. It could be them. Anyway, Sunderland, they always find a way to escape in the last month of the league.
Yep.
So might as well. I think might be Leicester going down.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think I agree with two of the teams that Shannon mentioned, Swansea and Hull, with the manager instability that they've had. I'd like to go, big and say this is going to be the first year that Big Sam gets relegated as well.
Huh,
So Crystal
interesting.
Palace for me.
Yeah, I think Sunderland will go down this year. They've just been pathetic. I like what I see with Hull City and the new manager. I'm going to be rooting for them to stay up. But the other two would be Crystal Palace and Swansea. But yeah, finally, the last question is Shannon. What was your standout game for this season? What was the one game that you just thoroughly enjoyed watching?
Oh, let me think. I would say United versus Leicester. I mean,
He just
They-
stole.
they-
He just stole my.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're gonna say. So I just wanted to put United game before that. But that was, I think, the first game where we actually saw the team clicking,
Yeah,
and
good point.
gelling. Pogba showing what he can do. Zlatan starting off magnificent. So I think that was a standout game for me. It just seems that after his huge price tag, it was weighing down on his shoulders. He was trying too hard, but that game sort of relieved him a little bit, and that was probably the standout game for me so far this season.
Siddharth, what about you?
I think being a United fan, I saw my first win at Old Trafford. I was lucky enough to be there. So United Leicester for me as well. That was the first game that Pogba came good. I was at the very end, just opposite the Stratford end, where all 5 of the goals went in. It was a 4-1 game. So I'd say that was a great game. But as far as if I was to call a non-Man United game, I think yesterday's game, City and Spurs, just showed how good the Premier League can be. It was Tottenham just getting that point, even though they weren't that good. It was a great Premier League game.
True. The two games that I would say were standouts for me that I really liked. City Chelsea was big, just because Chelsea were vulnerable in their defense that day, and it was so good to see the counter-attacking football that Conte had implemented that day. It was just beautiful. And secondly, even for me, yesterday's City Spurs game, as a fan of football, I think that really stood out as a very very high quality game, and it was an amazing advertisement for the Premier League. So with that, we'd like to wrap up. It's been a good long podcast and some nice insightful thoughts. Thank you, and join us again in next week when we do the second edition of this. Thank you. Goodbye.